Felt like very cool series so far.
Absolutely, and you can't overstate how confident they are looking to bring out these crazy picks. Only Lyonz out of their entire team has a single playoff game. Like none of them, the other 4 players had never played a single playoff game before this series. So it is really cool to see Castle, Kryber, Callme, Sajed all come in here, their very first playoff series ever, and have the confidence to bring out these sort of picks. Sentinels going to be locking in the Vi, which is going to really raise the priority of Taliyah. You're already kind of assuming it might be that Vi-Taliyah combo. It's something that would fit for DARKWINGS. Question to me is, would Callme be willing to just pick that away and try to deny it?
Yeah, I mean, Taliyah is still a very strong pick. Interesting as well that Sentinels picks first pick, and then DSG doesn't take blue, they take red. So I think we're just trapped here for the rest of the series no matter what, because they have completely opposite first selection and side selection choices, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, right? You know, completely different preferences. Corki has been conspicuously absent throughout this series, and Corki Nami is such a popular duo, a lot of laning power. But also, especially if they have low engage on the other side, you can kind of just walk forward aggressively with the Nami E. We know there's Vi though, so there's definitely not low engage. But the scary part always is, you are in onto this Corki that's just kind of flexing on you, and all of a sudden he valks back, and then there's all the follow-up CC. It can get very, very scary. So we'll see where they want to go here. As they could match bot lanes, they have the ability to just double counterpick bot, and they are going to go with MF, which almost always is then going to be paired with some sort of hard CC, people having that lockdown. So, you know, with Rahel out, with the Nautilus out, like maybe like a Rakan or something like that could work.
Yeah, Rakan, Nautilus, Leona, all going to be options for huhi. They don't necessarily have to pick it now, since they would have, they only have 2. They have the Rakan and the Alistair and the Leona. They'd have 3. They'd have 3 that they'd be able to get in, so they don't have to pick it right now. Taliyah makes a lot of sense just in terms of having that combo, but they actually end up going with the MF Leona. Will be nice seeing MF in the LCS. There's been a lot of MF already in the LPL specifically, but no surprises as we get deep into Fearless now in Game 4 that these are the picks that start coming out.
Yeah, and I mean, with this kind of combo, I mean, Nami is so squishy. If you get tagged by any part of the Leona combo, and there's an MF ult over the top, you're probably just dead, right? You're going to get locked up by the Zenith Blade, into the stun, into the ulti. The Mundo comes out. I think this is going to be the Kryber pick here for sure.
Yeah. As
Kryber did great on this last week against Lion. Was able to win in Game 3 with that. You know, got to the late game against Inspired playing that Xin Zhao. And as long as you don't kind of just get outpaced in the early game, it is such a monster in the late game and has the ability to absorb a lot of the CC as well with the passive, which is great against the Leona and the Vi.
Yeah, DSG definitely seeming to have a preference towards scaling. I also think with the acceleration of gold that we see in the game and how big objective bounties and crystalline overgrowth works, I think scaling might be better than it's been in like 10 years. So anytime you're picking something like Mundo, I like it.
There's so much gold in the game, right? The minion waves later in the game come at every 20 seconds instead of every 30. You talked about crystalline overgrowth. The role quests are giving you gold. There's like shutdown gold. There's so much gold and experience that can just kind of slingshot you forward. Taliyah, of course, going to be taken away. That was the obvious pairing we touched on right after the Vi was grabbed. I wonder if DARKWINGS would go to something like the Galio and they just try to play like kind of dive.
Maybe.
And, you know, that's something that he has looked towards in the past. But the only 2 picks remaining that he has played so far this year that are still up are the Casio and the Galio. Syndra going to be banned away. And on the other side, we have this focus up towards Castle. When you're banning the Gwen, to me, that's saying, I want to play a tank. And it will be interesting to see if Impact is just going to say, all right, it's like Cassante time, it's Ornn time, it's something like that.
That would make a lot of sense to me. Cassante seems like the logical choice this late in the series based off what we've already seen. Sylas ban means that they're thinking about maybe like a Malphite somewhere if the angle is there, or they just could also open up a Galio pick because Sylas would be really good in the Galio. A little surprised by that though.
Yep. Also a great steal on the Leona ult. You know, there's a really high AP ratio on that can be quite strong. But yeah, no, it does feel like, oh, that could be, you know, a nod towards potentially considering something along the lines of the Malphite. We'll see where Callme wants to go. He's going to go aggressive. Going to be grabbing the Ahri, which is another pairing that we used to see a lot of with the Vi. So another denial pick here. Something that has gotten a lot less popular these days, but it's also something that can stay pretty safe. Again, if you ult in on the Corki, he valks back, you could be too far. You ult in on the Ahri, she ults back, you could be going a little bit too far. So going to have to be careful about that. And we'll see where DARKWINGS wants to go. This would be a cool scaling pick. Not sure if we're going to get baited or if it is going to be locked in. But yeah, Veigar going to be coming out. I think it's actually a really cool pick. You have to be very careful about the cage, and of course, it's not the same like follow-up CC, but Vial comes in, you can place the cage right on the edge of that Vial and have that proc while they're in that CC, and then you have the follow-up damage. And if you get caught by that as a Corki, as a Nami, as an Ahri, you are going to get one-shot by a QR coming through from the Veigar later on in the game.
It combos really well with the Leona as well. They were hovering the Zaahen, so that's going to be Impact's pick as well. We haven't seen much of it, but I've seen a lot of this pick in solo queue, and it can get real goofy if you get ahead on the pick. It's not necessarily the type of champ you'd normally think Impact would excel on, and he has to blind pick it into Castle, which makes it a little more difficult. But overall, I love the new picks that we're seeing here in Game 4 Fearless.
Yep, Zaahen will be coming through, as you said. I feel like it kind of plays somewhat similar to Aatrox, which obviously Impact has played a lot of. And he is someone who can bring out a lot of these different picks, but the Jax slammed down by Castle. Castle did really well, I think, on the Nasus last game. I know the fan vote heavily favored him for player of the game. He was invincible later on into the game and handled the early lane quite well. So again, he's going to be the one who gets the answer. And you look over at this team and you think topside is scaling kind of to infinity with the Jax as well as the Mundo. My question is, what build will we get from Castle? Will we get kind of these AP variants that we're starting to get really popular, you know, with the Emax AP, you know, in Dusk and Dawn, or are we going to get more the old school AD style build? So I'll be excited to see where Castle takes us.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying, he's always checking the win rates on the stats website, so we could just, you're going to pull that up potentially yourself, and then we'll be able to predict what he does in one of these games. But I do want to see if DSG can close out the series here. Winner will guarantee themselves top 3. Would be an absolute crazy turnaround for them. Would also mean Sentinels, if they're able to win the next 2, in their first really tournament in the LCS, not even a split, just LCS lock-in, being able to go international. So both these teams looking to make an early splash at the start of 2026 in LCS.
Going to be exciting. A lot of pressure on them. And yeah, you know, you look at the data, it's a 54% plus winning matchup for Jax into Zaahen. Okay. And at least in solo queue, it is mostly AD that we're getting in this specific matchup. So we'll see where he wants to go. And it is grass, so I think it's going to be AD. Not playing phase rush or anything like that. But should be exciting to see this one coming out. Callme, I don't think had a great game last game on the Yone. You know, was able to find some effect later on. But I also feel like Lyonz has had a kind of uncharacteristically weak series. I feel like he's been having a good split, but hasn't really been able to find a lot of success. I mean, obviously notably in the Blitz game, but also on the Nautilus. I don't think he was having his best performance. And Castle is just going to be in here on HamBak harassing him. I actually love this. We'll see, though, what the cost is top lane. I really want to see the minions top, see if he actually misses any experience, because HamBak very quickly just moved down. Impact is going to try to get between him and try to zone him off some of this XP, but it feels like Castle has this timed out really well. Yeah. He's not going to get the gold, likely. So he misses 3, well, he misses 2 minions of gold, but he does get the XP. Yeah, so seemingly no cost for him so far. We'll change the recall, we'll change the timing of HamBak's camps, but also kind of eliminates any funny business he'd be able to do. Also, since he's going back to his blue buff and is completely on a ward, it allows the mid lane and the bot lane to play as aggressively as they want early on in the game, not worry about any cheese. And Castle just, you know, doing a solid for his jungler early on in the game, but they hit level 2. Oh, yeah, Sajed didn't want to flash it, but then he fused Cleanse and Flash. You know, they were losing the level 2 rush, and that is pretty punishing. Sajed could have maybe just retreated a little bit earlier. They clearly thought they could contest for level 2, but then huhi just knows his limits, pushes forward. Castle having a nice trade there. And now Sajed in some trouble again, but huhi taking a ton of damage. huhi might just die. Lion's going to try to flash forward and finish him off. One more auto won't do it because of the early potion pop. He can't finish him off. That was close, though. And now the sustain is going to start really mattering here for DSG. We'll see if they can stabilize and get ahead. And the wave's pushing away from Rahel, so Sajed might be able to push in on huhi. That's Biscuits are insane. It's healing faster than the auto attacks from Nami. Otherwise, that would have been first blood over to DSG. So still 4 summoners down on the side of DSG. If Rahel can keep the wave here and Vi could eventually path over, it could be huge. But considering the delay that happened to HamBak early, he's probably unable to pull that off. So full, you know, taking in the big picture, DSG almost prevented a possible bad play bot with the early invade from Castle. Yep, nicely done. Here we have it one more time. Yeah, so huhi just takes so much damage by going in there, but pops the early Biscuit and health potion, has them both running. Well, we got to go back to live as Callme looking like he is probably dead to rights. Nice flash, though, and now the charm connects. Kryra arrives here. Can they get something more? DARKWINGS being put low, but huhi there to body block. In comes HamBak, and now it's Kryra's turn to try to body block as he is the passive ready. So much ado about nothing. No one will go down, but Sentinels trying to continue their push forward. They want to be able to fight for this scuttle as Kryra quickly clears out the ward.
I mean, Kryra really wants to double crab. He still has smite, but the inside track is there from Impact.
And he's here first. I mean, this is really risky, but they do have the Ahri coming in. They're going to fight for this. It's grabbed there by HamBak. Castle, is he going to go over the wall? Lands the stun onto Impact, and Impact flash the wall. He does. HamBak will get pushed out. Kryra not going to be able to get anything more. At least they get the summoner off of Impact.
I mean, Kryra still hasn't based. Neither has HamBak. huhi stuck around. They can potentially punish this with the Leona.
Going to be able to land the stun, and now comes DARKWINGS, and Kryra has no passive. Kryra might just be dead. Even if you flash, I don't think you're getting out of this one. That's first blood going to HamBak again. Even with that great start that they had, Kryra feels like kind of got a bit too aggressive, gets punished pretty heavily.
Feels a little bit like that Pantheon game really tried to push the early game power on Mundo, which normally doesn't happen, but because they delayed early, he thought he could double crab, misses the smite there, and all credit actually to huhi, sticking around, waiting in the bush, getting the surprise re-engage onto Kryra's Mundo, and HamBak again with first blood.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, like I said, huhi, I feel like has been fantastic, has been outperforming. Yeah. Again, he makes a roam, makes a difference, right? Goes through mid lane, gets a good chunk. They can't kill Callme, but he says, you know what? I'm still full HP. I'm just going to stay. Yeah. And makes the difference in the fight as well. Down on the bot side, he's still actually even ahead in experience over Lyonz. So huhi, Mr. Worldwide, has been making it happen and has been, I think, a really big reason that Sentinels has been as good as they are. I just feel like this guy is consistently finding really strong engages. Feels like he's really happy with the team and performing well.
He is. He's always spoken really highly of the team whenever we've had him on interviews as well as on the Sentinels podcast. He loves playing with HamBak, thinks he's got a lot of potential. Doing him a solid in a lot of these early games as well. HamBak playing with huhi, that support jungle synergy already getting pretty strong between the two of them.
Yep, looking good. And I mean, huhi, and we touched on it, but he's had a lot of great engages. He's been fantastic on these engage champs. When I think back to last week, he was finding engage after engage. You know, in this big win that they actually had against TL, I think he was a huge reason for it. Constantly, it felt like he was the one finding Yon on these flanks in the Nico game. Then also in this Recon game, he came out of the side brush, had a beautiful engage across multiple members, you know, from TL. That was a big upset win. You know, when we looked at the preseason rankings, we had TL as the aggregate #1, and they fell to the lower bracket in playoffs, thanks in part to Sentinels, who put them there.
It's really been a crazy LCS lock-in tournament when you think about it. Lion and Team Liquid both sitting down in the lower bracket, meaning only one of them can actually make top 3. They're going to have to, even if they win their first lower bracket match, they both have to win in order to face each other just to make it into top 3. So a lot of fun League of Legends coming up in the LCS. We got Saturday, Sunday this week, and then the last 2 weeks are Friday, Saturday, Sunday to conclude these playoffs.
Oh, he's going to get caged in. HamBak is here. There's the Q. Can he get out? It doesn't look like it. Great CC chain from HamBak and DARKWINGS. The cage sets it all up, and HamBak knocks him down. huhi now on the bot side. Zenith Blade follows him, which drags him along the Valkyrie, which does a surprising amount of damage, actually.
Credit to DARKWINGS, though. Just landing the cage stun with no assistance, making it very easy for HamBak to come in.
He's built like that.
And get this 2-0. You play enough Veigar.
Walks up, presses E.
I mean, let's see. Callme was just... Boom. He thought with the extra boost he'd get from his W. And then HamBak just immediately punishes, which is very smart. It's weird. HamBak's 2-0, but I feel like this has all been set up. The first one, huhi. The second one from DARKWINGS.
Golden Glue looks so stressed. My poor man.
Why are you so stressed, man? Your team is already exceeding expectations.
He wants more. He's greedy. Wants that success that he knows they can have. I mean, it's always tough as the Ahri, right? Because it's like, you could be like, oh, you should have flashed that. You should have ulted that. But when he walked up to the cage, he didn't have vision of the vibe. So you can't just, you know, react too heavily anytime he does press it. As Castle goes for a nice little trade there, as Impact just retreating back. Playing all right in this 1v1, but is down 20 CS already. And Castle
definitely seems to have an edge in this matchup. He's been early invading, getting tempo, going for blue buff. Hasn't really gotten anything over the top, but He's maybe going to have side lane pressure on Impact the whole time. Trying to think about why Golden Glue would be so stressed. I do feel a little bit like there's still that feeling, as Castle's just burning his ult to get the wave in, that DSG is this last place team from last year. And Kryra mentioned this in the interview as well, just like, oh, the people who put us last, oh, they don't watch us, they're new and they're DSG, so they must be bad. But I do feel like even when we were making predictions, like this week, we both said DSG is probably going to win the series. It still didn't quite feel right because they lost so much last year.
I would also say, you know, I can understand Golden Glue feeling like, hey, we have to really win this, as Callme might be in some trouble, but...
Doesn't have ult yet.
Oh, he gets stunned by the cage, yeah. Flashes, ults. Wow. Didn't want to use the flash or the ult early, ends up having to use both, but think about it from this perspective. Golden Glue basically got to have his pick of the litter. He took the players from DSG. DSG then took the quote-unquote backup players, you know, from Tier 2. And if you lose to that team, doesn't it just mean that DSG did a better job kind of building their team? So maybe you're feeling stressed from that angle, right? Of like, we got to pick over their team, take all the players we wanted from their team, and now we might lose to the team we stole all the players from.
Good point. Twice, because they lost to them in week 1 as well.
As third Grub going to be going over the way of HamBak, but that does mean he used his smite, so Kryra doesn't know if he has another charge or not, and HamBak will be sent packing, pushed back. So, yeah, I think it adds a lot of stress there, but Rahel taking a ton of damage down on the bot side, does still have the barrier, and huhi has the spellbook heal, so not an easy dive or anything crazy like that. DARKWINGS, though, is going to be happy scaling up. Looks like 97 stacks on that passive already, so he is scaling quite well on the Veigar and is going for that Roa, so kind of a full scaling style build. It's always interesting when people get into the death cap on this because, you know, death cap obviously so much value on Veigar because it is amplifying your passive stacks as well. But sometimes when it comes out in pro play, people take so long to get the death cap because they're going for more utility items and defensive items and stuff. And I know a lot of the Veigar players can be very critical of that.
Yeah, gonna see what DARKWINGS ends up going with. I'd also think HamBak was in such a good position last game on the Wukong, but I would say him getting picked off was one of the things that led to the DSG comeback. So again, now having this early gold lead, he's going to have to try and not have any nerves. I was watching his player cam right after that loss. He really seemed almost the most dejected on Sentinels. So he is in a position to have a good game here on the bye.
Yeah, he's had some great starts. You know, even in series and games that they have lost, I feel like HamBak's early game is undeniably great. He has really been excelling, I feel like, in a lot of the early games. And remember, LCS playoffs are going to be live at the Riot Games Arena. Starting next week, we are back on stage. So if you want to come watch some LCS action, see some fun games like this, it's going to be really fun next week. So definitely buy your tickets now, and we will see you there. It's also worth noting something we touched on in the previous games was kind of the discussion of like, oh, you know, do you want tabbies? Do you want mercs? Well, tabbies are great for Castle, both against Impact and HamBak, but then you look and you see how much CC there is between Leona and Veigar and all this later, and it could be hard to move later in the game if you get hit by any of the CC, so we'll have to be on point with the counter strikes to be able to avoid the Leona Q and things like that.
Definitely lane boots. We know the Renekton game as well. He was getting chain CC'd with steel caps, not merc treads as well. So he is prepping for lane. Second Drake being up, and with how strong DARKWINGS is, Roa to just a lost chapter, but Kryra's looking in river like he wants to make something happen.
Yeah, DARKWINGS pop that goes very early, so wants to threaten with the cage here, but Callme is behind him. Castle fighting on the top side against Impact. Callme goes in, the charm does not connect, and now the CC is coming in. He gets burst down in a hurry. Double bubble comes out from Lyonz as Sajed is pushing forward. Sajed gonna Valk over the wall, gets that kill. HamBak in some trouble. Rahel has arrived. Can they make it happen? They're trying to focus down HamBak, but they don't have the damage. It looks like HamBak still alive. It's a double for Rahel. Kryra ults, flashes out to safety, but Sentinels are up 5-1.
And I kind of feel like that was always how that fight was gonna go. Callme tried to be sacrificial for his team, but the burst is so high with Vi, Leona, Veigar. Callme doesn't realize he's on top of a ward, but it's just ult into Veigar. He's always going to be one shot there. Maybe DSG thinks now that that's happened, we're ahead of the MF, we can probably win the fight, but they lose the turnaround.
Castle about to get solo killed. That is an Ignite ticking, not a solo kill, excuse me, as huhi was there and does grab the kill. As we jumped out of that replay, he's going to get taken down. Castle had been doing great in the 1v1, but huhi gets up there and makes it happen. I have to give credit as well to huhi in that previous fight. Callme goes in with the ulti charm. I think their call is, hey, maybe we can just one-shot huhi before anything happens. Huhi flashed the charm, and then all of the CC comes out.
True.
Your Ahri dies for free. Come back to life. huhi's up on the top side. 5 out of 6 KP. He has been everywhere, and we're going to watch this now one more time as we didn't really get to catch the full play.
Yeah, it looks like Castle was going in for the trade, but huhi arrives with the Ignite. I kind of feel like Impact was going to win that regardless.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when we came out of the replay, at first I was like, oh, it's a solo kill. Then I saw the Leona, and I'm like, oh, it's not a solo kill. And then we saw the replay, and you're like, it was actually kind of a solo kill. He just ignited for an assist, but actually got the kill.
Yep, good job, huhi. I mean, huhi's put in the work this game. He deserves a kill every once in a while. He's put in the work this series. He's been playing great.
Though Impact probably disagrees. You know, Impact wants that kill.
Yep. He's been losing lane the whole time. Really needs that gold.
Yeah.
It's incredibly crucial.
So I've got counterpicked. I'm getting smacked around. I'm about to solo kill this guy, and you come and you steal my kill. Well, but team gets more gold. That's what they always tell me in those kind of plays, you know? It's the assist gold.
More.
Yep, huhi is back up here, and Castle not going to have the Merc Treads, of course. You know, does need the tabbies for this 1v1, but potentially could be in some punishment as there's the Grim Return and the knockup, and Callme is going to get the bad news. The HamBak is here, but nicely timed. Going to be able to Spirit Rush out to safety. But it is, again, Ahri with no ult. Callme struggling last game, and I feel like the Ahri not off to the start that you want this game either.
Yeah, definitely getting heavily targeted. DSG opted to counterpick top lane instead of mid lane. Don't think they're going to be able to get much done to Impact.
Yeah, they chunk him low, and Nami is in the area, but that's... You do not have a lot of DPS to actually be able to knock him down. If he just ults, gets a bit of a heal. He was stacking up that passive, but HamBak is in the area now too. Remember, Callme has no ult, so they will just back it off, but they were able to proc that Crystalline Bulwark, get a bit of plate gold. Still, the gold nearly 2,000, excuse me, nearly 3,000, as it is now 2,800 in their lead. Ulti gonna get let rip there on a Sajed, and if he stays around, there is potential that HamBak could knock him down.
This game definitely looking a lot harder for DSG than even game 4 where they're, sorry, even game 3 where they fell far behind, just because I don't feel like they have the same level of scaling that they would have had. The Veigar as well is just looking exceptional for DARKWINGS. HamBak off to another very good start, and then Impact as well, who might have been counterpicked and might have fallen pretty far behind, has hit his Trinity Force and is looking very strong. So, you know, too early to call it, but we are definitely more likely to have game 5 than not.
It is looking that way for sure. I mean, DARKWINGS, you said it, scaling really well. 182 stacks of the passive, so that's a lot of free AP. Has a Swift March, which I really, really like. Move speed is so valuable on Veigar because it's all about being able to get in range, to actually get down that cage onto people. And is, of course, playing the Summoner Spellbook, which could be extremely valuable as well. Right now was sitting on the Cleanse, so that's going to make things a lot harder for DSG, as even if he's kind of flexing on you, you can't just one-shot him with a Charm. And Rahel, when you hit that BT on MF, all of a sudden, you just kind of own the mid lane. You can just kind of heal up after all of these trades. So we'll see where DSG wants to take us to try to claw their way back.
Yeah, this is it's a pretty crucial part of the game when you're sitting with this 3,000 gold lead and everyone has bounties. Yes, you can snowball the game, but if you make that one mistake and give away bounties, it can very quickly fall out of your control. So Sentinels definitely in the driver's seat, but I'd say compared to previous seasons, the game's a lot more volatile in this stage than it has been in the past.
It really is. I mean, we had a couple times last game where it felt like, oh, there's the throw, this team's gonna win, or oh, they made a great play, they're gonna be able to come back, and it would kind of bounce back and forth. So we'll see. Huhi was, of course, spotted on Vision up on that top side, but if he does lock down Callme could be in a lot of trouble. Is playing the Merc Treads himself, so has the upgraded tier 3 Merc Treads, gonna give him a little bit of shielding to help survive against that CC, but it's just always so tough, you know, when you get behind on the Ahri and you're going defensive style build, as you are with these Merc Treads, you just don't really have a lot of oomph behind your damage. It's like, who are you supposed to be going for?
I mean, DSG playing really aggressively around these Drakes. I do feel like this might be one where they would just try and concede. They almost got that turret down bot lane, but with Herald being put in mid lane by Sentinels, it seems like it's probably too tough to defend.
Nice timing on the bubble there, does catch huhi, but it means he doesn't bounce back, and he's gonna lock down Kryra. Kryra, great timing on the W though, absorbs so much of that MF damage, helps to keep him alive, but Mundo with no ulti is kind of useless. Impact trying to stack up the Cultivation of War, does use his ult. Castle still has his. Maybe that's the edge that lets them fight.
I think it's actually the edge that lets Ahri get some plates. So overall, that would be good. They're going to give up the Drake, but at least they're trading it for something on the other side. Callme getting some plates. Castle actually is spotted by DARKWINGS. might end up falling here.
Ooh, good counter-strike. Block the flash Q from huhi. The stun does not land, and DARKWINGS can't finish him off. So, yeah, they do lose the Dragon. They get some plates on the top side. Are going to actually finish off that turret, so that is really nice for them. And we're able to push in that mid-wave, so deny a couple minions. But still, it's a 3.4K gold lead. It's Impact going bot to grab a couple more plates. Nearly 4,000, as it does kind of slingshot back and forth based on the camps and minions getting picked up.
Yeah, and Impact also looking to be able to clean out this bot lane turret, thanks in part to the really delayed recall from Castle. So nice plate sequence by Sentinels, dropping the Herald mid, clear out space, clear mid turret, clear bot turret, also clear Drake, and they only end up trading back their own top tier one. So Golden Blues hopefully not as stressed as he's been in the previous games. Now they're sitting on a 4,000 gold and 1 Drake lead.
You can see the Actualizer has been picked up now there for the Veigar. And we know Veigar's burst is terrifying, so can be quite powerful. And it's also one of these champions that actually gets a lot of benefit out of the secondary part of the Actualizer, which is the basic spell cooldown reduction, which is really, really nice because you can get multiple rotations out there. But if you catch someone with a cage, you pop the Actualizer with the QWR. That's a ton of extra damage all at once.
It's definitely for the old school players, you know, Deathfire Grasp reimagined, rather than having to press DFG on the player. You just get to press it and have DFG on everyone.
And DSG is pushing forward here, trying to come back. Riot does tag Rahel, who is put quite low. Doesn't want to commit anything more. And Rahel will be put low, but has the BT. And we'll just go heal up off the Wolves as DARKWINGS takes down that tower up on the top side. Again, huhi just utilizing the pressure that he has, you know, really moving around the map so well. Lyonz on the Nami, obviously don't have that same ability. Sajed gonna get Q flash. Whoa. Beautiful combo coming through. Can they finish him off? Not just yet. Kryra is there as well. The cage gonna come out defensively, does keep HamBak safe, and now Kryra gonna get locked down. Kryra does have the ulti, but it's gonna be too late. Can't even get it off. Sentinels grabbing another kill there on the turnaround.
And it's 20 minutes where they can just turn immediately on to Baron, so they might make quick work of this game. Already up 5,000. Will turn to about 6.6 if they get this. Death timers are relatively short, though.
Yeah, Callme in the area, Lyonz here. They know they have to try something. Callme's gonna go in, does land the charm, but it's just on impact. And he has to flash right back out. Castle going in, 4-man counter-strike. Can he make something happen? The bubble comes through. Rahel is going to be shut down there by the Ahri. Callme on the run here, trying to get away. Charm going to be sidestep. HamBak is coming in behind him. He's going to go for the TP out. Can he get there? That was so close. Looks like he survives unless he burns down to the red buff, but he's going to get out. Nicely played there by Callme as DSG solo laners making a game-saving play.
Wow.
That went from 5K to, it's still a big lead, but they erase some of the gold lead, they defend the Baron, and they get out.
And they got the bounty off of MF. That must be so frustrating if you're Sentinels right now, because you feel like you've done everything right there. You try and land the haymaker at the end, completely overexpose yourself, get counterpunch back, because the beginning of this play, absolutely beautiful. They one-shot, effectively one-shot the Corki once the double up comes through from Rahel. And then just a sniper that huhi has become here on the Leona, dead center on the ultimate. I just wonder if they overestimated their damage. Remember, Baron's so tanky right now. Really nice in out at the start from Callme, and then a 3-man stun while the Baron is free hitting. Just allows them to get some damage. It's crazy that Callme gets out without dying at the very end of it, though. HamBak used his Q, so Callme immediately starts teleporting, and just can't get the Q back up.
That was really smart. Great call from him. And just so well played there by Callme and Castle. I mean, Callme goes in, you know, gets some spells out, gets a good chunk of damage down, and then as soon as the cage came out from Veigar from DARKWINGS, Castle just flashed it and gets a counter-strike on everyone, gets in the midst of that whole team, and gets them some much-needed gold back. Castle, the only one with an individual gold lead on his team. And a lot of pressure on him as a result. You know, he had counter pick. He's the only one with a gold lead. Yeah. You really want to see him having a big effect if you are a fan of DSG and looking for them to try to close this one out.
Yeah, the Mundo needs to continue to scale. Hasn't really been able to get many Heartsteel procs this game since they've always been on the back foot. Still, Sentinels completely in the driver's seat. 30 seconds until this next Drake. DSG, last Drake, they were able to trade something back, but all the tier 1s have been taken away, so less likely they'd be able to take one now. If they're counting the items, this might be a time where they're kind of close. It's 2 items on Vi and Zaahen and only 1.5 on Castle and Kryra, so maybe not the time to fight, but they're positioning. They have 2 items on Jax now.
They're going to TP in. Castle has that TP shield. Will they try to force a fight with it? The Grim Return going to miss there from Impact. As some good poke coming out from DSG. The Corki's been landing some damage onto DARKWINGS as well as huhi, who has been chipped down a little bit. Castle going to be forced to use that Counter-Strike defensively, and that TP shield from the role quest will be expiring here pretty darn soon. Kryra as well as Sajed just trying to chip away, trying to get them low before the fight would break out.
Pretty good poke just from Mundo Cleavers. They have the sustain advantage with the Nami, so Castle's hoping that Sentinels try and push a little too far through, and then he can get a flank engage, but Impact doing a good job holding that bush.
Yeah, and they've lost control of the mid wave, so DSG has to now wait. They got to be careful. They're too far forward, and now comes HamBak going in on the engage, a bullet time over the top, and he's surely going to fall. Lives for a while. Castle trying to turn around. Sajed trying to get involved, but he's going to be exhausted, and he's got to run for it. Castle's going to get knocked down as HamBak goes on a rampage. Sentinels crush the fight. DSG were way overextended. Your Corki's on the mid wave, and they didn't back up.
Absolutely. Sentinels very coordinated, but that is basic stuff where Callme's struggles end up continuing here. Once the Corki shows, it's clear as day that Sentinels just needs to go in. So they try and still fight a little bit on the back end, but with Callme being one shot, they're never going to have a chance in this fight. Castle ends up falling as well. They lose the Drake, and that's just, they lost the standoff once they lost control of the mid-wave, and they didn't back up soon enough, Azael.
Yeah, I mean, it gets really, really tough, and I didn't actually catch who autoed that blast cone that knocked the Ahri back into the cage, but that goes the other way as well, and now it is going to be Impact knocking down a tower here. 5.7K, the gold lead. DSG does have some scaling, but they have been stalled quite a lot here. Impact potentially going to get run down, trying to turn around, maybe look to stack this up. He's going to go for a TP play himself, but this one is not going to work. Tries to make his best Callme impression, but this one is not going to succeed, unfortunately for him. So dies and loses his TP. That's a little bit of insult to injury.
Yeah, little things like that can be game losing if they accumulate over time, but they're still in a pretty strong position as a team. The bounty going over to Mundo. A little bit dangerous. You know, when Mundo hits level 16, he can get really raid bossy, but there's still a lot of damage and heal cut already completed on the side of Sentinels.
Yeah, I mean, it is really interesting, Mundo Ultimate, because it has just such a change at rank 3. So, you know, at rank 3, both the healing effects are increased by an additional 5%, but you start getting bonus HP from everyone that's around you when you activate it. So, you know, normally ultimates just go up, but it's like it does more of the same thing. This has an additional effect at the max rank, which is why level 16 is so powerful for the Mundo. And he does have 2.5 items, you know, is mostly focused on that armor for now. And I think rightfully so, as Veigar obviously not the highest DPS champion, but does have a Void Staff already completed, and means the death cap is going to be pretty delayed. HamBak going to be looking for a pick, and there is Callme. Now you see him, now you don't. He is knocked down in a hurry. Castle, though, trying to come in on the flank, tries to get in onto HamBak. HamBak interrupts the leap strike. Castle incredibly low, but still alive for now. Sajed going to flash forward, but he can't find the rocket onto Rahel. Impact finds the Grim Return onto Sajed, and it is everyone from DSG falling. They are going down like fish in a barrel. DARKWINGS gets a double. Kryra is running away. DSG try to look for a play after their mid laner gets picked, but they just can't make it happen.
And Sentinels just have absolute tunnel vision onto Callme. Every time he's on their screen, they're finding a new way to kill him. They just one-shot him at the start, and you could see DSG thought, you know, maybe this is the time we can return it, but they're trying to retake space where they have absolutely no vision. The spacing between the Mundo and the Ahri is just too small, so it allows them to go for the squishy target. Yes, some nice damage gets landed by Sajed, crits Rahel a couple of times, can't get the execute on that flash rocket. Even if he gets it, that's a 1-kill fight instead of a, you know, 0-kill fight. So 4 of them end up going down at the end, and Sentinel get the Baron and take full control of the game.
It's a great sidestep by Rahel. Right as Sajed flashes forward, Rahel just kind of sidesteps to the side, you know, utilizes that passive with the strut, the additional move speed, hugs the wall, gets out, and HamBak now nearly a 2,000 gold lead. Both his carries on the bot side have an over 2,000 gold lead, and he has the GA, so he can kind of just full send it on Sajed, who feels like really the only kind of consistent damage threat that they have whatsoever at this point. Impact just kind of running things in the side lane at this point is level 16, and DSG are really falling out of this one, now down about 9,000 gold. Feels like it's about time to start thinking about Game 5.
Absolutely, that's likely what Ido is thinking about in the back. How is he going to prep Game 5 draft in this Fearless? Because Callme is half half dead again already. One Veigar W.
Yeah, but he got put down to about 20-30% before the heal from the Nami came through. And that wasn't even a Veigar R or anything like that. It was the activation of the actualizer. But is looking for that death cap now. Now the TP going to come out here from Castle. Can he find an angle? He's spotted already. Lyonz going to try to look for the engage with the Nami wave. Doesn't really find anything. He's going to get in onto Rahel. Can they knock him down? Great McHale's, but it doesn't matter as Callme's going to be able to get the first kill on the other side though. Sajed falls. Callme's trying to run here from Impact. DARKWINGS, Impact, as well as HamBak looking for the fight. HamBak is low, but still has the GA, and now the Cultivation of War is stacked up. Impact is going to be fearless, has that revive ready. Won't need it though. Going to be able to push in, grab another inhibitor here. It was a good attempt from DSG. They did kill off Rahel, who had no flash, but at the end of the day, doesn't really change much.
Yep, love to see the effort. They're not just going to slowly bleed out, but at this point, it's a 2-for-1. Mountain Soul is going to be up in 20 seconds. DARKWINGS still scaling. 374 from that passive. Death cap not completed yet. If it does complete, it's just going to get even more absurd for this Veigar. How much AP is he sitting on pre-death cap? 878. That's with the Baron buff and the Elixir. So he knows these are crucial fights, but I don't even think this Soul is contestable.
Yeah, probably not, but hey, may as well, just pop everything you can for this fight, because realistically, if you get the Soul, well, how does DSG come back? They are looking for one-shots, and then you have Mountain Soul on top of that with a 10,000 gold lead. It gets almost impossible. You have to think to be able to find a way back into this game. Sentinels, have had their kind of share of ups and downs throughout this series, but this is their best game, I think it's fair to say so far.
I think so as well. HamBak has played excellent these last two games, aside from one mistake on the Wukong last game. Otherwise, if they don't throw that lead in game 3, they could be thinking, oh man, this would be a 3-1 for us, but it's going to be going to that game 5. So they're going to have a lot of momentum going into this game 5. I think on the side of DSG, Callme's got to shake it off. The Yone game was shaky. This game has been pretty disastrous for him on the Ahri, because HamBak DARKWINGS have just been so good in the 2v2, despite the language barrier that we know exists between the two of them. So right now, Mountain Soul, 2 inhibitors down. Sentinel's not taking any unnecessary risks. If DSG extend or try and clear some vision, I can see Sentinels going for a fight. But otherwise, we might be waiting these 2 minutes for the next Baron.
Yeah, I think they're just going to try to sit back. And I mean, if you're DSG, only way you win this game is maybe you get a random Baron steal and or an Elder steal or something, right, to try to equalize. But going to be incredibly difficult. And I've got to give credit where credit is due. I thought Sentinels might be the team that would struggle more in a late game fearless situation, but they have been looking good. Castle tries to sidestep the Zenith Blade, but going to have to pop the stasis as that ulti comes through. Lyonz going to let the ulti rip here as he is a bit nervous from the engage coming through.
Doesn't want the Leona to be able to get in range to ult them. With 2 waves of supers moving in, they're trying to play on this bottom cannon. I think they're strong enough to try and do this without Baron.
Oh yeah, DARKWINGS just TP'd back with the death cap. And the actualizer is ready, so we'll see if he can get a one-shot. If he can set that up, would definitely be able to burst someone down in a hurry.
Yeah, 1,044 AP and an actualizer, so come on, DARKWINGS, let's see it.
That's like a QR one-shot from full, pretty much. But we are going to have that Mundo passive, keeping Kryra safe thus far. But now you have been triple inhibbed, and the walls are closing in. We'll see if DSG can find a fight to delay the game a little bit. There's the cage coming through. Callme going to look, does find the charm, but it is just onto huhi. Bubble's there to follow, but really, who cares? That's just the Leona you've landed your damage on, and Castle now getting chunked down there by Impact. The minions coming in, they're going to go for it. Here is the bullet time across multiple members. Castle's in the back line, but Rahel has the barrier. It's a double kill already for the Veigar. How much more can they get?
Oh, let's get a
Sajed
penta.
Flashing back. It's a triple for the Veigar. The bot lane's in the base. DARKWINGS is not going to get a penta, but he is going to help to send us to game 5 with an 8-0-8 Veigar game.
This series is absolutely delivering. The teams are neck and neck. In week 1, it was a 2-1 series, and now we are again going the distance. My player of the game has got to be that DARKWINGS Veigar, but we'll see what the lounge decides.
He's been smurfing. It's the first silver scrapes of the year from the first best of 5 of the LCS lock-in. Stay tuned to see if Sentinels or DSG take the series and guarantee their spot in the America's Cup. We'll be right back.